All right, the next one though is this is one that I'm really interested in. This is from DeadlySlob, titled "Why I Play Star Citizen." He's mainly a Escape from Tarkov creator. So, but he's been jumping into Star Citizen more regularly each patch. Now making like YouTube videos for it a lot more, guides and stuff. So he's been really getting into it. So I'm pretty curious what he's gonna say here.
So I've been playing Star Citizen for years, and every time I talk about the game on my stream or make videos covering it, I always see people ask the question, why do you play this game? This question stems from a decade-long early access period that has certainly given the game a bad reputation with various controversial moments and constant delays for Star Citizen and their single-player story-driven blockbuster Squadron 42. In addition to the delayed development, the game also features one of the most expensive pledge and support programs in gaming history, where some of the ships themselves can cost hundreds of dollars. And although I don't necessarily agree with everything that CIG does, especially with their pledge store and their ship prices, I can't deny that there's something about Star Citizen that keeps me coming back year after year, curious about...
Yeah, like Star Citizen's really lucky that it has this special element to it that like makes people ignore the obvious, really egregious issues with it, right?
The progress that's being made and just jumping in and actually getting full-blown addicted to the gameplay experience. And before I see it in the comments section, no, this is not sponsored by CIG or Star Citizen. I'm just making this video to talk about the progress that the game has had over the years and why I choose to continually go back to it time after time and somehow get addicted to the game. And one of the biggest reasons for me is those double dogs, man. The chili dogs, the burritos, the whammers, the chicken wham, all the food that is just easily accessible, ready to eat in Star Citizen. Just makes it so convenient whenever your character gets hungry and thirsty. It's just right there. You don't got to think about cooking anything. And wouldn't it be awesome if you had that experience right now in your house with meals ready to eat?
This is an ad.
If you're interested in that, then check out today's sponsor, which is Factor. Factor is a meal delivery service that delivers no-hassle meals that are not frozen, fresh, directly to your door, so you can spend less time worrying about what to prepare in the kitchen, knowing that it's going to be healthy and fresh, and more time playing games like Escape from Tarkov, Star Citizen, or whatever you're into. And getting fast food all the time just isn't ideal, or relying on frozen meals. And if you're looking for a brand new option that's going to give you fresh, nutritious meals for your lifestyle, Factor has you covered. There's over 27 different options every week, and meal plans range from 4 to 18 meals per week, and you can add or reduce numbers depending on your specific needs. And Factor has a wide range of options if you're vegetarian, if you're doing a ketogenic diet, or trying to watch your calories. Factor has you covered. So if you're interested in trying Factor, go to the link listed in the description box below, or head to go.factor75.com and use code POGSLOBAPR50 to get 50% off your first box and save yourself a little bit of money checking out Factor. And with all that being said, let's jump back to this conversation about Star Citizen. Now, for those of you guys that actually watch my stream, you'll know that my favorite video games are ones that have fairly lofty goals. There's a carrot on the stick. There's some progression.
I mean, he plays Escape from Tarkov. Like, Escape from Tarkov's had tons of jank forever, but it obviously pushes the envelope for FPS games in a lot of ways as well, right?
Some dopamine. You're working towards something. It's one of the reasons why I really enjoy Escape from Tarkov. You start at level 1, you do all the missions, you unlock the better traders, you grow your character, they become stronger, you get
What do you work towards in Star Citizen? I'm very curious where he's going to go with this comment.
Access to more gear, and maybe even get the Kappa container. The same could be said for World of Warcraft or even DayZ standalones, starting at the beach, working your way into the north, collecting better equipment, becoming more capable at surviving the elements. These are the types of games that are drawn to me, and the same could be said about the current state of Star Citizen, even if it's not necessarily the state of the game that the developers intend to have when it releases down the road, or for some of you guys, if it releases down the road. When I first started playing Star Citizen, I bought the $45 version of the game I jumped into the verse and flew around and eventually purchased my first ship called the Cutlass Black. At the time, it was like $75 on sale or something. I don't know the exact price. And the ship that came with the game, in this case the Mustang, held a $35 monetary value. So I was able to trade up and get this ship for the very first time. And of course, I also had referrals from my live stream. So over time, I was able to get more and more ships from that program and exchange and trade. And before long, I had a fairly decent sized fleet of ships on my main account, and I didn't necessarily have to work towards pretty much any goal. And I did.
And that's like kind of the problem with the game, is outside ships, there is no goal.
I didn't really like playing Star Citizen too much because I felt like once I purchased components for my ships, there was really nothing for me to work towards. Maybe some reputations, those came later, but you kind of get the idea.
And you can skip that by
what
buying
really
them.
changed my perspective was...
And then given the fact, the advantage of having a ship in your hangar when the game actually releases, if there is a game behind all of it, you feel like you have to buy the ship and not just have a starting ship like the Aurora or Mustang, right? They got to build outside of the current thing, but they don't want to because they got to keep making money too. So it's like this weird circle they've been looping around over and over again forever.
Just purchasing the $45 version of the game, starting with...
What about playing missions? Isn't that also a goal? What do you do with the money? If you have ships, what do you do with the money? You do missions to make money. Even the reputation in the missions, just all it does is make you more money. What do you do with it? Right? Yeah, like ship components, customization. There's so many things that need to expand, and we're not there yet. And I think that's why people are asking Deadly, why do you play this game? Because it doesn't really have the game behind it yet. But let's see what he has to say. I've kind of been talking over him.
Was just purchasing the $45 version of the game, starting with that ship, and I can actually purchase ships with in-game currency now. Years ago, you weren't able to do that. You weren't able to rent ships, but now you can. So you have that progression that's built into the game now where you start with no reputations with any of the, I guess, contracts, the corporations, the security services. Everything starts at level 1. You have this really shitty ship, and you go through and you do some jobs. Maybe do some call to arms, some bounty hunting missions. You rent a mining ship, and you go and try that out for a little bit. You try to steal another player's cargo. You run some illicit drugs, which I've made videos about here on my YouTube channel. And you start making that money, and you set that goal to purchase a ship with in-game currency, which really changes the dynamic of the game and creates a pretty satisfying loop. This also greatly changed my perspective on Star Citizen.
It's just a satisfying loop for the length of time that that Deadly plays the game. I think Deadly doesn't play for like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, where like a Tarkov wipe he'll play for that length of time, right? And that's because it's just deeper and has more of that element of I got to work my way up feeling.
And what the game is going to be like whenever it releases. And we're already seeing some evidence of that right now. And it kind of plays a lot like Arma 3. If you've ever played Arma 3 Life or Arma 2 Life, Grand Theft Auto roleplay, you have a lot of players that are doing various jobs inside of a server. You have some security forces, maybe some op force, some insurgency, people that are just running cargo and civilian goods, mining, salvaging, medical work, police. Again, I already said policing, but police ships, you name it. There's going to be even space taxis, for example. And that's going to populate the world with not just NPCs that are going to be calling upon your services, where there's reputations and you can actually get better jobs, but most importantly, servicing other players that are going to be needing your assistance, like being stuck on a planet without any fuel for your spaceship. There's already refueling ships, or medical beacons whenever you're down and you don't want to lose all your gear, because in Star Citizen, the cargo on your ship and the gear that you carry on your character is very much games like DayZ Standalone or Escape from Tarkov. Whenever you die, you actually lose all your stuff, so you have to go back.
It's actually like more hardcore than Escape from Tarkov because you don't have a container to hide stuff in.
Back to your body or get other players to help you. One of the most entertaining gameplay loops in Star Citizen is being a criminal. So currently in the game, if you commit crimes against other players, like try to kill them or steal their cargo, which you can do in most places in the game, just like you could in DayZ, walk up to them, shoot them, steal their stuff, either as like an infantry or as another spaceship, that might have criminal consequences. And there's ways of getting around it, but for the most part, you're going to be getting a crime stat. When you get sent to jail, you actually accumulate real hours of time that you can either spend like waiting and logging out from the game, or mining resources or completing jobs inside the prison to reduce your sentence. You can also break out of jail and get a friend to pick you up, or get a mission that allows you to find a hacking chip, escape from jail, upload that chip, and remove your crime stat. You're also able to hack computers with the assistance of friends, because you'll probably need some...
The difference in Star Citizen is the gear doesn't matter, right? There is no gear fear. Totally agree.
Backup to remove your crime stat as well. So, and although there are plenty of bugs that are associated with that gameplay loop, it is active and functioning inside the verse right now. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of that system and other systems that's going to encourage player-to-player interaction, services, assistance, and more. And that's really what Star Citizen is going to be about, creating this living, breathing world that not just functions off of the assistance of NPCs, but primarily focuses on the interactions between players. I think one of the reasons why CIG is taking so long for this game to come out too is they're just non-stop adding new pieces of technology, things that other games haven't really done successfully before in a multiplayer setting.
That's sort of true. It's more that they've been non-stop working towards the one bit of technology that is apparently supposed to make the game happen. And it's taken the 10 years to get there.
For example, face over IP along with VoIP. So you can plug in a webcam and enable that camera's ability to track your face. So whenever you're communicating with another real player in the world, your character's mouth and facial movements will mimic yours in real life, which is just going to be insane for people.
I wouldn't even call this out because I don't think it's going to be supported anymore. Like, Faceware just doesn't talk about Star Citizen anymore. They don't talk about it. They used to have this like really close relationship and they were going to build upon it. There was going to be a special webcam for it, and then nothing happened. So I don't know about this one.
Trying to create unique stories, cinematics, YouTube videos, or even just role play. And these are just kind of like, in my opinion, unnecessary
this is what
bonuses.
It looks like.
But because they have so much financing, I wonder why, because of that pledge store, they're willing to spend the time on adding these little details to the game. And there's so many little details that it's really taking so freaking long for their game to actually get finished. And that could be frustrating sometimes, and not everybody is on board with it. I'm a gamer that likes that progressive environment, multiplayer features that have...
The thing is it's not the little features that are holding the game back. It's the core tech that's holding the game back. And they've just not been able to achieve that tech. So it may feel like it's all these little things that they're adding that's holding everything up. And in some way it is, especially with persistence and the amount of items they've added to the game. We see what has happened with that. But believe it or not, it's the big ticket items like server meshing that they've always talked, or at least for the last 7 or 8 years have been talking about. That is really the issue here.
Interactions amongst players, but I'm also a sucker for the little details. For example, one of my favorite games ever made, My Summer Car. At face value, this game isn't the best graphically, but when it comes to interacting with your environment, it is one of the greatest games ever made. From breaking down every single component of your car, to just going to the store and speaking to Tamo and buying some food and having a drink, playing the VLT machines, interacting with various objects in ways that you never would have thought possible, especially whenever you go to jail. Don't piss on the TV. You'll probably electrocute yourself and die. But those are the little details I'm looking for and really elevate a regular gameplay experience. And Star Citizen does that really, really well, or is at least trying to. almost to the point where it's just taking so much longer for them to get their actual game out due to the fact that they're willing to spend extra years and years of time on things that other developers would consider unnecessary. We also didn't even get a chance to talk about the persistent technology with the ships, where you can get a big ship and a bunch of players can be on that ship while you're flying it around in a verse full of other players doing the exact same thing, with moons and planets that are at scale. And inside that ship, if any players can drop or place an object, those are going to persist like through forever, basically, until the ship blows up, and the ship might even persist. And then also those players interacting with turrets, scan systems, simply sitting down at a kitchen table, having a beer or something, opening up the doors, driving cars in, pulling in cargo. It's crazy. Like,
there's so much potential.
If you can think it, they're trying to put it in the game. Hey, man, they even got space toilets and space showers inside the ships, and even space beds and all that kind of stuff where you can log out, storing weapons, storing crates. I mean, like, like if you can interact with the ship, or if you can think about how you're going to interact with the ship, they are planning on doing it in Star Citizen. So it's pretty ambitious. And although whenever you log in, you might experience the same bugs that you've been encountering for the last couple of years, or sometimes you'll have a session where everything goes right and it's flawless and you're feeling ambitious and excited to play the game, and the very next day you keep on getting disconnected, you run into a bunch of bugs, you can't purchase cargo from the cargo screen and it just doesn't work. These are the types of vibes and the vision that keeps me coming back and allows me to be patient for the game to come out, because it's not a big investment. For me, I spend $45, I check it out every now and again, I see some progress, I bounce back to some other games, and I wait a little bit longer.
Exactly. He's going about it the right way. It's why I play Star Citizen occasionally, not why I play it every day. Star Citizen is not meant to be played every day, period. It just isn't.
I'm not super invested in it, but what I will say, and again, this isn't sponsored, but I will say, for $45, I actually think, people will disagree with me actually, but I think you get more out of the game spending less money.
Yes, 100%.
Whoever would disagree with that is all the ships. I think you get way more out of the game purchase.
Anybody who would disagree with that is just a whale justifying their position in the game, which you get way more out of the game with just one small ship. Period. Because it's the only progression you can currently make in the game. In the future, this may not be as true of a statement, and I do think the paying will lead to more winning in the future, but the current game is more enjoyable when starting from nothing, because it's the only bit of progression you can actually get.
Using the $45 or the $65 version of the game, where you actually rent and purchase ships, work towards your components, and build up your career and your wallet to buy so many different things like double dogs and burritos and weapons and weapon attachments. Never even really talked about that, where Star Citizen has probably the closest player controller to Escape from Tarkov that I've ever seen in any other game, with an attachment system that is very similar to that as well.
With the fact that you can attach things to the barrel and stuff, but the attachments don't add to the, you're not having a certain recoil AK versus another one, you're not building guns in this game as much. Nowhere near that level of Escape from Tarkov yet. Like with everything, Star Citizen opens the door to be able to be as deep as other games that do similar things, but it isn't currently.
And AI that whenever you're on a low pop server are very impressive, but more often than not, like 9 times out of 10, it's way too laggy, and
everything works. It just doesn't make as drastic of a change as I've seen with like Escape from Tarkov gun builds, right? Where the gun looks completely different, acts very different, like recoil goes way down and all sorts of attachments. And it like Escape from Tarkov is very deep. Like what is it called? Obviously silencers work, muzzle flashes work somewhat. It even muzzle lowers your recoil even a little bit. And what is it? It begins with a C. That it does reduce your recoil quite a bit. But the guns don't have a ton of recoil to begin with, right? Yeah, compensators. Exactly. You don't have a ton of recoil to begin with. You're not adding, different grips or anything to change recoil and aim down sight speeds or anything like that. Like Escape from Tarkov is way, way deeper. But Star Citizen gives themselves the out to do that if they want to. Just they don't do it yet, because if everyone would freak out if they invested all their time in something like that right now, right? It would be silly.
Don't interact at all. But that's also an aspect of Star Citizen that really drives me and keeps me coming back, is that first-person shooter component that is actually pretty impressive and will be a larger component of the game when the server technology gets stronger. So again, just in summary, why do I play Star Citizen? It's a game that checks all the boxes of what I'm looking for in a video game, even though it's early access and a lot of that isn't finalized yet. I'm getting that player interaction, I'm getting PvE, I'm getting that persistent environment, that progressive gameplay where I'm working towards something, and it's got extreme levels of little details scattered all over the verse that I really appreciate in my video games in 2020.
I think why a lot of people come to Star Citizen is because you just can't find an experience like this in gaming. You just can't. It just separates itself from everyone else, and if they kind of make it a game, it's just going to be so good.
23. So as always, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. It might be a bit of a war zone because I do understand that people don't like Star Citizen or CIG for a wide variety of reasons.
I wonder what people would think
because of that pledge store, and I completely understand. But I still maintain the opinion that $45 version of the game, you're going to get the most out of it right now in the most gameplay, in my opinion, than if you were out there spending lots of money purchasing all these different ships. I don't think that's wise right now in the current state of the game. I would only do that if you were a major mega fan and you wanted to support the development of the game. But if you have somebody that's on the fence and they want to try the $45 version, or keep an eye out for those free flies, because you can actually play the game for free for long periods of time so you can test it out for yourself. But the last thing I'll say is I'm making this video, it's April 12th, 2023, and there's going to be 2 wipes in Star Citizen back-to-back, 3.18.1 and 3.18.2. I would get into the game if you wanted to try it, but don't do anything super grindy or time-intensive until 3.18.2 drops. Because that's going to be the last wipe for a while, quote-unquote, and fingers crossed. So that's where you're going to want to start grinding those reputation, getting that in-game currency, and saving up to purchase other ships. I wouldn't do that just yet. I would wait for that patch. Again, if you guys are new here, please subscribe or watch my live stream Monday through Friday starting at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A link to that will be included in the description box below.
That was good. I think he sums it up really well as to why pretty much everyone plays the game, right? And then he takes it like, I play the game the way I want to, and this is what I find fun about it. I enjoyed that. Thank you, Deadly. And I think it is always good to see what people on the outside that aren't like in the sauce as much as I am, just think about it, and how they think about it, more importantly.